Hello everyone, thanks for joining. Today's webinar topic is driving efficient digital operations in multi-cloud environments. I'm Kitty Anderson of Broadcom Automation, and I'll be your host today. Just a couple of things before we get started. Since this is a public webinar, your line will be on mute. But we do encourage your questions, so please use the questions area and the side panel in BrightTalk, and we will cover those at the end. The recording of this webinar will be available through the same link you joined today and can be shared with colleagues and associates. We are now ready to get started. So I'll introduce you to Jan Gunnion. Today, Jan is a valued member of the product marketing team at Broadcom and a subject matter expert in automation. Over to you, Jan.
Thank you, Kitty. So, welcome to this webinar, and thank you for your interest in Broadcom's automation solutions. During this session, I will discuss the challenges of using multiple cloud vendors as part of your digital transformation initiatives. Most of the time, when you build your cloud strategy, your main focus is on infrastructure capabilities. It's about performance, provisioning APIs, elasticity, reversibility, pricing. As a result, you may undervalue something very important, it's automation. At Broadcom, we believe that automation is your most important asset for managing business-critical processes, especially when the infrastructure complexity is increasing, when you have to mix private cloud, public cloud, and legacy systems. So how to leverage automation for addressing the new challenges of multi-cloud? This is exactly what we are going to discuss now. But before to start diving into multi-cloud, just a few words about Broadcom's approach. Broadcom has a global approach to automation. If you have attended the previous webinars of the series, you will probably understand very well our approach today. We are not just delivering point automation tools. We help customers to adopt an Automation Center of Enablement approach. This is really about enterprise automation, holistic automation. It's about creating an automation-first culture with reusable building blocks, with an automation ecosystem you can share inside your organization. And of course, it's about integrating with all your existing tools. Because enterprise automation should not be like a big bang, but it should be more a way to orchestrate your existing tool chains. There are 6 main use cases which we are integrating into open source, multi-cloud, and even competitive tools. The automation intelligence, it's about providing visibility across critical business processes, even if you are using multiple automation vendors. Multi-cloud automation, it's about automating delivery of infrastructures and IT services across clouds and ITSM tools. So this is today's topic. Continuous delivery release automation, automating the deployment of code, configurations, and full stack applications. Workload automation, so that one is the traditional automation of business processes across platforms and business applications. Data pipeline automation, about automating a mix of data movements and data processing in large volumes, ready for big data. And the last one is site reliability automation. So it's about automating problem detection and remediation for improving site reliability engineering initiatives. So it's really about adding more agility into the IT operations. So these are the main topics we focus on at Broadcom. But now let's dive into today's subject, the multi-cloud automation. So As you plan to move to the cloud, use platform as a service or software as a service, you also need to plan moving and transforming your existing workloads. In fact, it's very unlikely you can take what you have, just move it to the cloud and run it as it is. Because most of the time, you will need at least adaptations due to the technology changes. And of course, you might also need bigger transformations in order to fully leverage all the new benefits you get from the cloud infrastructure. Now, what is the biggest challenge in that transformation? I think there is one central question, and it is, are you really comfortable with migrating your existing business processes? So what does it mean? In fact, do you have enough visibility on your business processes? Do you have control from end to end on those processes? How many distinct automation tools are you using? How much manual are your processes? Do you still have manual handovers between the different steps in the processes? So globally, are you ready to handle new layers of complexity that will be added by moving to the cloud? So before we address the core topic about cloud automation, I'd like to debunk a few common myths about the cloud itself. So you may notice the picture on that slide. So it has been carefully chosen. This is the Piazza della Bocca della Verità in Rome. This is where you can find the mouth of truth. So if you're a courageous visitor, you can stick your hand into the mouth, and the legend says that you won't be beaten if you tell the truth. So I propose to try that with the first statement. Cloud is all about money. It means if you move to the cloud, it's only because of savings you can do on infrastructure and operations. In fact, the reality is that for most companies, agility is the ultimate goal for moving to the cloud. Cost is just a parameter. When companies are moving to the cloud, they are looking for improving their innovation capabilities. The next one, today the cloud has to be used for everything. So if you are not cloud, you are nothing. It's not true, because moving a legacy application is generally not a good cloud use case, because the cost-benefit ratio is just not right. That's why companies are implementing hybrid cloud strategies, mixing cloud and legacy infrastructures. The next one, you need to stick with one single cloud vendor. So of course, reducing the number of vendors has always been a way to reduce complexity, but it does not work for the cloud, because it's usually impossible to get everything you need from one single vendor. Just have a look in your own company. You might use Google, Oracle, Workday, HubSpot, Box, ServiceNow, whatever. The reality is that selecting a cloud vendor is generally a functionality-based approach. You won't get everything from the same vendor. The next one, MultiCloud prevents vendor locking. Okay, so having more than one cloud vendor can have some benefits. You might need a plan B in case of large technical issues or a cloud vendor bankruptcy. But you should not forget that the cloud vendor selection is a functionality-based approach. You cannot easily switch from Amazon Web Services, for example, to Microsoft Azure. The reality is that the services provided by the cloud vendors are proprietary and they are sticky. So it doesn't ease switching from one cloud vendor to another one. And the last one, once you moved to the cloud, you are done. Actually, that's not true. Moving to the cloud is not just a migration project. A plan to shut down the data center is not really a cloud strategy. Agility is really the ultimate goal for moving to the cloud. So you will still be continuously improving your processes and adding more innovation after moving to the cloud. Okay, so now what does a cloud strategy look like? Here we have some interesting figures from Gartner. First finding, 81% of companies are using at least 2 or more distinct cloud providers. Actually, companies are not doing differently than 10 years ago. Today, they select cloud providers the same way they selected server and operating system vendors in the past. Capabilities, performance, price, they choose the technology that fits the best with the business expectations. This is exactly what I explained before with the functionality-based approach. So it means you can quickly come to work with multiple cloud vendors, mostly because of technical and functional reasons. But there is another reason companies are working with multiple cloud vendors. It is about their EBC strategy. EBC means Enterprise Business Capabilities. For a time, the EBC strategy was referenced as the postmodern ERP trend, so it was a term from Gartner. What does it mean? Many companies are leaving their monolithic legacy ERP, like SAP or Oracle. They are moving back to less integrated tools. So, you know, they are still using a core ERP like SAP or Oracle, but instead of using it for everything, they are adopting additional software as a service solutions like Salesforce, ServiceNow, Workday, or Tableau, or many others. As a result, the modern IT environments just look like a hybrid of loosely coupled services, services on-premise, and services in the cloud. That's why it's critical for IT organizations to have service orientation, and Gartner envisions the transition needs to be done in the next 5 years. Most organizations that will not be service-oriented won't be able to support these demands. And of course, this is an open door for shadow IT and the many problems related to it. Okay, so you are moving to the cloud anyway. So what are the consequences? What are the main challenges? The first challenge is the migration to the cloud by itself. As a matter of fact, companies moving to the cloud do not start from scratch. They need to transition a large set of existing IT operations, and they need to migrate hundreds or thousands of workloads from on-premise to the cloud. The big question when you do such a migration is mostly about visibility. Do you have enough visibility over complex processes that can span across multiple cloud technologies or maybe across multiple workload automation vendors? How can you evaluate the impact of migrating your workloads and ensure you will still be able to deliver the expected service levels? These are very important questions. The second challenge is the management of complex and hybrid workloads. When you modernize your applications or modernize your business processes, your workloads might be distributed on different environments. It can be on your private cloud, on your legacy infrastructure, on the mainframe, for example. But of course, some of your workloads will be hosted in the public cloud. On top of that, you will have to deal with different natures of workloads, like data movements, web services, virtual machines, containers. And the last challenge is about IT service delivery. Business users are used to cloud services in their private life. They are already using self-service and instant messaging, and they like to have immediate response. They just expect that same level of service in their business life. So the reality is that they are not willing to wait too much for accessing IT services. It means while you are moving to the cloud, you also need to deliver IT services at the speed of the cloud. As I said just before, you cannot deliver IT services slowly. You need to do it at speed. If you don't do it, you open the door to shadow IT. So people like developers, like data scientists, and even any business user might decide to choose external provider, and it will be weakening your corporate IT strategy. Okay, so big challenges, and I propose to have a look on how companies are trying to address that today. As I said when I introduced today's topic, at Broadcom we are convinced that automation is key to manage complex workloads. But in fact, all automation strategies are not equal. And the figures you can see now are very interesting. They come from a recent EMA survey about digital transformation and application modernization. More than half of the respondents report that they are using a mix of automation tools. They are using tools like operating system schedulers, open source schedulers, or maybe diverse workload automation solutions. It means they do not have end-to-end visibility on the business processes they manage. Even if some portions of the processes are automated, they still have manual synchronizations, manual handovers. As a result, they experience a high rate of failure, and the lack of visibility and control impacts their agility. It's very difficult to change and to add innovation in processes you have only little control on. So there is a visible impact on that situation. You can see the two figures in the middle of the slide. Around 40% of companies have difficulties with application modernization and business demands for transformation. They need to integrate new technologies with legacy systems. They need to automate hybrid processes spanning from the mainframe to the cloud. They also need to automate SaaS applications, web services, virtual machine, containers. That's probably why we see this noticeable result from the survey. It's on the right side on the slide. 80% of the companies are now considering to improve their automation strategies, and they are looking for ways to get more centralized control on their automated processes. That said, what should you do? I propose to review examples from two of our customers. They managed to address multi-cloud challenges with the help of Broadcom, of course. The first example is with a global player that offers a full range of technologies and services for water treatment facilities. The company is currently deploying its new digital strategy with the objective of providing new services to the customers. So it's mainly about managing smart meters, offering mobile applications and services like real-time alerts and dashboards on water consumption. At the same time, the IT department decided to move a large part of the production to the Amazon cloud, that to increase the agility and also to optimize the operational costs. The goal was to build their own platform as a service and enable resource provisioning on demand. The main challenge the teams had to address was to automate complex processes in a hybrid environment. So it was about ZOS, distributed Linux, and various Amazon Cloud services. So compute service, storage, web, all these Amazon services. The project consisted of migrating more than 6,000 workloads to the cloud, and it started with a process mapping and a prototype to validate the migration. And with that, it was possible to industrialize the migration. It was accelerating the project and also minimizing the risk of human errors. So in terms of results, switching the workloads to AWS took less than 3 months for that company. And it has been done without any noticeable impact on the IT production. The main benefit for the business was a significant acceleration of the deployment of new services in the cloud. So it means more innovation for the customers and for the company, more arguments against the competition. So it was a good move, totally in line with the company's digital strategy. Another example is that company in the banking vertical. They were planning to move most of their IT operations into the cloud, and they decided at the same time to replace their main 3 automation platforms, batch, ETL, and file transfer, all that with a Broadcom solution. The goal was to push for systematic adoption of automation as part of the Center of Enablement approach. While implementing the new strategy, they moved workloads from nearly 20 data centers into the cloud, and they migrated 160,000 jobs for supporting the modernized business processes, running both on-prem and in the cloud. There was one interesting result of switching to modern automation, and honestly, that was a little bit unexpected in the beginning. We discovered that the former environment was generating 60,000 job failures every month, which is now totally fixed with the new platform. The new automation platform is now supporting innovation with new capabilities and new services delivered on a regular basis to the customers. So this is a real benefit from moving to the cloud. And internally, more than 3,000 users have adopted the Broadcom solution. They access the service catalog every day. So it's really a good example of massive adoption of an automation platform, and it is clearly aligned with that Center of Enablement approach. Now, a bit of detail on how Broadcom can help to automate multi-cloud environments. The goal of the solution is to let you manage complex and hybrid workloads, also to enable simple and fast deployments of IT services into the cloud. The solution can help you to succeed with your cloud transition thanks to 3 main capabilities. Broadcom can help with the cloud migration by delivering powerful analytics across systems and automation vendors, and also by having a clear view on what is the impact of changing your processes. So by using Broadcom, you can build trust in the way you plan the migration of your existing workload to the cloud. The cloud automation capabilities enable you to manage complex and hybrid processes across various technologies and cloud vendors. It also enables you to dynamically control the cloud infrastructure in order to optimize your workload execution. And the cloud abstraction helps you to deliver IT services across cloud vendors. You can build reusable service assets and you can enable IT and non-IT users with a catalog of services. So globally, Broadcom lets you automate your multi-cloud initiatives and deliver more value by simplifying and accelerating the deployment of your new business services into the cloud. So the conclusion, some three takeaways, three good reasons to trust Broadcom for your automation. The first one is intelligent automation. With augmented visibility and control, Broadcom helps you migrate your existing workloads to the cloud with confidence. The broad ecosystem we deliver. When you select an automation solution, you need to ensure it covers your technology end-to-end. Broadcom provides automation for the mainframe, for distributed, for business applications and multi-cloud technologies. And the last one is about scale, because your digital future depends on automation. So you need to build your future on a solution that is scalable, that can grow with the business demands. That said, I think it is time for questions. Kitty, do you have any questions from the audience?
Thank you, Jan. Actually, we do have a couple of questions. If anybody else would like to ask a question, please add it into the chat box on the right. So, Jan, okay, a couple here. So, one, you say that cloud is not about money, but what about cloud brokers?
Yeah, good point. I think cloud is all about agility and innovation. This is what I said during the presentation. So what about cost? I think the benefits of using a cloud broker depends on your mode of utilization and also the way you modernized or not modernized your applications. If you use the cloud just for, I don't know, provisioning virtual machines for developers, for testers, then I think it's okay. You can just select the cheapest vendor, and it's not very complicated to switch from one vendor to another vendor. But when I've modernized your applications, mostly based on services provided by the cloud vendor, this is more complicated because, of course, every cloud vendor provides very good additional services, things for load balancing, data access, or high availability, and so on. So their cloud becomes sticky. It's very difficult to switch to a competitor. Automation can help you on that problem by abstracting your cloud vendor as much as possible. At the lower level, of course, you are going to have some proprietary implementations. But at the business level process, there will be no difference. You can use building blocks that can hide the underlying complexity. So, of course, automation will help you to manage multiple cloud providers.
Got it. Okay, another kind of comment question. It says cloud vendors also provide some automation. And why would I use your automation solution?
I would say this is because it's very unlikely you will be using one single cloud vendor. In fact, this is really the topic of the session, multi-cloud automation. You cannot rely on automation technology from one single cloud vendor because it won't support efficiently the other vendors. And of course, it won't support all the applications, all the tools you have to keep on-prem. So I'm not saying that automation services provided by cloud vendor it is something bad, but I'm saying it is limited. it's not broad enough to support your business processes end-to-end, especially on a hybrid context.
Thank you. Okay, as we have a participant, sorry, I missed the first part of this webinar, no problem at all there, but the question is, are you offering a cloud option for automation, or are you discussing implementing automation on a cloud surface of my choice?
In fact, the architecture of our solutions is perfectly suitable to be implemented both on-prem or in the cloud. So all of our customers have the choice of the implementation. They can both deploy the product on a private cloud, on physical systems, or on a public cloud.
Great. Another question here, and keep them coming. Thank you, everyone. Should there be information security governance and oversight for all workloads that are migrated to the cloud?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Of course, yeah. Should there be information security governance and oversight for all workloads that are migrated to the cloud?
Yes, I think security and governance is really, I would say, a very important topic for managing business processes. And in fact, it is even more critical when you are operating these business processes on a hybrid context, because you may have different teams, different people interacting with the processes at different levels. So I would say that holistic automation can be really important in order to have a good governance and to avoid any compliance risk. Because you will be able to centralize the access to the different components of the business process, and you will be able also to get audit logs and everything which is needed to make the proof that the way you manage your processes, the level of governance you have on your processes, is compliant with your company regulations, or maybe some external regulations, because we know we have many customers having strong external regulations, sometimes because they are in the gaming vertical, or maybe in the energy vertical, or in the banking vertical. So they have strong external compliance constraints.
Thank you. And another question here from a customer, 8 years with Automic UC4, so thank you for that. Specifically, how can we have agents in public cloud without having a permanently open connection to the automation engine? This customer was curious about how Broadcom can specifically accelerate the movement to the cloud.
Yes. I think we will take that question for later, because it's a bit technical. Maybe I need some confirmation from the product management team. What I would say is that today we have secured communication between the agents and the central engine. In the roadmap, we have many announcements that are planned on that. Does it include the possibility of limiting the permanent connections, or having a different way of connecting between the agents and the central automation engine? I cannot confirm now. So we will take the question and we will answer later.
Great. Okay, thanks, Jan. And thank you, everyone, for those questions. I thank you, everyone, for attending today. We hope Jan provided you with valuable multi-cloud perspectives. I think there's nothing else to say, but thanks again, Jan. Thank you for everyone's time, and we wish you a very pleasant rest of the day. This webinar will now end.